of North Dakota. Welcome in. I'm Nick Hulberg, your host for tonight's show. Glad to have you guys aboard for another edition of the Dirt Weekly. Had some technical difficulties earlier on tonight. Hopefully things are ironed out as we go through. We had some interviews earlier on with a few ladies in racing tonight, which is a great segment and kind of the storyline of the show here this evening. Let's welcome in Mr. Larry McFall and Lindsay Lawson now. And gentlemen, welcome aboard. Nice to see you again for another week of the Dirt Weekly. Let's go back to last week and just talk for a minute about overall your thoughts on the action across North Dakota.
I tell you what, I'm excited that we haven't had any rainouts here on the western side of the state. That's always a plus. Usually by the time we get to Memorial Day, we've had a couple of rainouts somewhere. So far, things are going through. The only rainout we saw was Devil's Lake. They had the USMTS Modifieds scheduled to come in on Saturday night. Unfortunately, Mother Nature won that one. Other than that, things have been looking good across the western side of the state, and Estevan also got a couple of them in.
Yep, Cheyenne River also rained out this last weekend, but we've survived no rain, but we've been winded out. I mean,
no doubt.
I cannot ever remember 40-mile-an-hour gusty winds like for weeks at a time. It's wearing us out, and might even be a reason for tonight's meltdown.
Yeah, you never know.
I don't know what the meltdown was about tonight, but we're going to move on from it anyhow and take a look now at the winners from last week. And let's just start with our good friends here at the Playground of Power in the Magic City. Let's look at Nodak Speedway. This is what happened at the playground last weekend. As you can see, Jason Walla wins again. Robbie Conway wins again. You look at a guy like Joe Flory winning. Kevin Dwight gets his first win ever inside one of those hobby stock cars. Good racing at Nodak Speedway over the weekend. On to Dakota Speedway down in Mandan. Drew Christensen parks it in Victory Lane. First time in a while for Drew in the 29 machine. Derek Voller wins the street stocks. Kurt Michelson wins the hobbies. Troy Hoff wins the legends. And it's Jason Berg again that wins the sport compact. Let's look now at Grand Forks, River City Speedway. Thomas Kennedy in the blue machine dominates the sprint cars. Austin Hunter wins the B-Mods. Late models went to Joey Peterson. Street stocks went to Adam Burrows. Let's go down to Fargo and look at the modifieds where Michael Grieseth takes home the checkered flag. Hobby stocks went to Brandon Schmidt. Sport mods went to Jesse Skalicki. Boy, he's on fire right now. We'll hear from him later on in the show tonight. Legends went to Baden Haskett. Stock cars went to Aaron Olson. On to Jamestown. Brad Hardigan wins the modifieds. B-Mods went to Lucas Rodin. Billy Carroll wins the pure stocks, and Billy Christ wins the street stock. Southwest Speedway in Dickinson. It was the big show again, dominating at the Southwest Speedway. Street stocks went to Jordan Binstock. Sport compacts went to Jason Berg. Isaac Sondrel in that 12S machine, who is on the watch list for Darn TV's Top 5 in North Dakota, gets a win in a feature down at Southwest Speedway. Estevan Motor Speedway north of the border. Cody Schlope wins the modifieds. Devin Gonis wins the hobby stocks. And Chris Hortness wins the street stocks. Nice to see Cody Schultz back in Victory Lane up in Estevan. And, of course, Week 3, the rain out in Devil's Lake. And what a bummer that is with the USMTS that we're supposed to be racing there on Saturday evening. Gentlemen, when you look at what happened across the state of North Dakota with the races and what you see here, any big surprises on night number 3 across North Dakota?
What do you think, Larry?
No, I don't think so. Just like last week, I think the top echelon of drivers are finishing up out towards the top of these races. One guy that worked real hard a couple of weeks ago and just couldn't get a break was Cody Shope. And then he finally got the big win now in Estevan. I thought that was well-deserved, letting the stock car in the modified race get pulled from underneath his fingertips in the last lap. The last time out there. The big show, Jason Walla, just continues to dominate, and he didn't win in Mandan because he drew bad, had to race a B main, and he started 17th in the A main, and he made his way up to 5th, I believe, and it went bell to bell,
right?
No cautions.
Yeah, green to checkered on that one. And
I think if he would have got a caution flag, I think he would have moved up.
Well, I've talked to probably 3 of the guys that finished in the top 5 in that one. Every single one, except for the winner, said, boy, I wish I could have had one caution. Everybody thought they had a shot at winning that if they had just one more chance at a restart to go at that one.
And then a well-deserved victory for the Isaac Sondrel race team that Lindsay, proudly pits for. They've had some good outings and not so much luck.
Yeah,
you guys got her done there in Dickinson last.
Yeah,
Saturday.
last year finished up with not a lot, great amount of luck, but yeah, we've been moving up the charts, and he finally parked it in victory lane. It was a pretty big win, pretty emotional for the whole family that was out there to watch that one. So yeah, he's one to watch, that's for sure.
This is the Dirt Weekly. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the history of women in racing across North Dakota. We'll do that when we return. Again, this is the Dirt Weekly, live each and every Wednesday night here from the Pro Style Production Studios.
When you need a windshield chip repaired, why settle for just professional service when you can receive personal service too? At Choice Auto Glass, we take a hassle-free approach to replacing cracked and broken glass on cars and trucks by working directly with your insurance. But it's more than that. It's the attention we put into making sure your vehicle is returned to you clean and in proper repair. Choice Auto Glass. We're not the only one. We're simply the best one.
Topic of tonight's show is women in racing. How many women you see across the state in the times before? Nick Hulberg alongside of Mr. Larry McFall and Lindsay Lawson. Gentlemen, when you talk about women in racing and you go back in time, I know that you guys had some interesting points on this earlier on that, boy, times certainly have changed when you look at a field of racers at Nodak, for example, compared to back in the day. How much has time really changed when you look at it?
Great job of going back and getting the history of female racers in this area. There was only a handful, and now there's a handful every week.
Well, and maybe there would have been in the 60s and 70s if the rules would have been different.
Yeah, think of those rules.
But
Yeah.
What Lindsay and I talked about is the Nodak Race Club and all the other race clubs around the country. In the 60s, women weren't even allowed to be in the pits to hang out in the camp of their husband or boyfriend's car. I mean, they had to be in the grandstand. So it's not that maybe there might have been some people in that era that would want to race. They couldn't even be down there.
Right, and things have changed. It's a lot more family friendly. Obviously women are racing and allowed in the pit area, and the children, which is a great thing. Everybody can be down there and be a family unit down there in the pit area. And we were laughing earlier about, remember the days that I had to go find a new pair of white pants to be in the pit area. The rules stated you must wear white pants. Can you imagine that today?
And that was as late as 1989 or 87 when Dave Forthen asked me if I wanted to be his assistant flagman. I had to run up to J.C. Penney and look for white pants, and the only pants you could find were the old painter pants style.
Right.
And we couldn't even show up to flag if we didn't have white pants on. Safety feature to be able to see.
Right. And true,
but,
a lot of it was practical. Back in those days, they didn't have the terrific lighting systems that they have at many tracks around the area and around the country. Visibility was a real issue, and having those white pants was certainly a benefit.
So in the 1970s, in the sprint cars, when Gail Sutton showed up, she raced only a couple of years. She actually pitted for Jim Belinsky, the old number 3 car, and then she got herself a part-time ride. And, nowadays we talk about, starting in a lower class, working your way up. Well, Gail jumped right into a sprint car, and that kind of just started it out, as far as we know here in the Minot area. Vicki Nelson Simonson raced mini stocks in the 1980s. She was involved in the car business, of course, back in those days. I think she might still be to this day. So she came basically a folk hero at that time racing mini stocks. And then only 1 year out, what was special about this situation, Jody Nelson, Spokley, out of Glenburn, was only 16 years old, and she raced for 1 year. Deb Chapman came along in the number 27 machine. She, of course, still largely involved in the Nodak Speedway right now. Deb raced that mini stock for a couple of years. And then here's the one that really set the bar. Carrie Mundahl out of Bismarck came up to Minot on a regular basis. She was the 1995 mini stock champion, and then she went on to race street stocks. No other titles in Minot, but I do believe that she won some championships down at the Dakota Speedway and really kind of set the bar as far as success for local female drivers. So thanks to all those ladies that really got it going. That's 60 or 50 years of history with just 6 people. And this year at the Nodak Speedway alone, we've got 6 female drivers right now. So that kind of shows how it's changed.
Yeah, it's certainly going in the right direction, that's for sure.
Unfortunately, earlier on tonight, we had Alexis Rolson in studio. Katie Ruby just took off. And for whatever reason, as soon as they left, now we're actually producing the show here. Those videos are going to be on our YouTube page and also on Facebook. Those interviews that Larry and Lindsay conducted earlier on tonight. Fantastic stuff. What were you most impressed with what those ladies had to say tonight? Was there anything that really stood off the paper to you when you talked to Katie and Alexis earlier on tonight?
Well, the thing that strikes me is they're race car drivers. They talk like race car drivers. They don't look what you would think of, these race car drivers in days gone by. But they're racers. They're as passionate about racing. They're as talented as anybody out there on the racetrack, and they love it just like anybody else loves racing. And yeah, it was great to have a chance to sit and talk with them.
A misconception is that they don't do anything on their cars. That's some of the older mindset, I think, still talks like that. We chatted with them pre-show, and there's still some feelings in the pits that they might maybe not be up to the regular race team, but both the ladies that we had here tonight do a lot of work on the race cars. Alexis said she would do more, but the car is not locally here in Minot with her to do so in the evenings, but they get in there and they work on their race cars just like anybody else does. And I think that's a major misconception in this country still to this day, that the women can't work on race cars. Well, I tell you what, those 2 ladies that were in here sure know a heck of a lot more about mechanics than I do. I'll tell you that for sure. So, no, it was very nice to have them in. Unfortunately, Mackenzie Fall and Mackenzie Baker were always also set up to be here tonight. Mackenzie got in a little bit of a wreck on Thursday up in Bottineau, and they're working on her car to get it ready for Friday night in Williston, so she couldn't make it. Something came up for Mackenzie Fall as well. But also up in Canada, we have Beth Gowdy races, and so does Karen Parachoniak. So we hope to see them this weekend, and that can only keep on growing as time goes on and get rid of those old misconceptions.
Yeah, interesting stuff there, and a great topic, great idea, Larry, on the women in racing stuff. They have had some success on the year with how things have gone at Nodak Speedway and around the entire state of North Dakota. Let's look now at the highlights of the week in the last week. Week number 3 around the state of North Dakota. Here's your highlights 3 weeks in.
Hulberg. He looks like he is going to make it 3 in a row, the three-peat. As he comes across the Road Honda start-finish line with a Capital Trophy checkered flag, your feature winner is Jason Berg. But coming on to turn number 4 across the Road Honda start-finish line with a Capital Trophy checkered flag, your feature winner in our Soda Street Stocks. And we got contact over there in the top of turn number 4, but it's the number 24 machine of Derek Fowler here at the Dakota Speedway this year out of turn number 4 across the Open Road Honda start-finish line with a Capital Trophy checkered flag. Give it to Troy Hoff out of Flasher. Donaldson, but across the Open Road Honda start-finish line with a Capital Trophy checkered flag. Your feature winner, Wishick's Kern Michelson, as they cross the Open Road Honda start-finish line with the white flag. Miles Tomlinson is your leader, but here comes Drew Christensen right back at him. Christensen and Spencer Wilson, they were 3 wide for the lead. Christensen back down to the bottom. They go into 3 and 4. Christensen does a slide job over Miles Tomlinson. Can he do the crossover across the Open Road Honda start-finish line with a Capital Trophy checkered flag? Give it to Minot's Drew Christensen.
One more corner and he's gonna see checkers. Let's give it up for your winner, number 17, Chris Hortness. And the checkered flag is flying. Half a lap left for the checkers. Here comes your winner, the 02 out of Esteban, Cody Shope.
Right behind Jason now. Down the back straightaway. Trying. Oh, somebody went in hot. Oh, my. Oh, my. Schlager, Sandro, Biella. Conway already going down the back into 3. Down low in corner number 4. Here he comes past the grandstand. What can you say? It's Conway.
You're Ricky Thornton. You just want the bragging rights and the extra spending cash for the road trip. White flag.
Joe Flory protected the territory that Thornton wants. Dalton Flory, a howdy-do from behind. Tried to stir it up. Now Dalton will take a look on the inside. Out of the corner they come. Joe Flory on the gas, and Flory wins again. The white flag. Himmel pulls off to the back. Walla needs one more perfect lap in the 27. Hagan in second. Strand in third. Thornton Jr. in fourth. Schoep in fifth. Out of the corner they come, and the Big Show wins again. Hagan, Strand, Schoep, Thornton, Johnson.
When you need a windshield chip repaired, why settle for just professional service when you can receive personal service too? At Choice Auto Glass, we take a hassle-free approach to replacing cracked and broken glass on cars and trucks by working directly with your insurance. But it's more than that. It's the attention we put into making sure your vehicle is returned to you clean and in proper repair. Choice Auto Glass. We're not the only one. We're simply the best one.
Eddie Lurie in the red 77 is now your leader. Eric Folstead in that 96 machine running in second. The yellow third, stretching fourth.
Yeah, I was watching Kelly Baum, and he kept getting really, really tight, and his car wouldn't turn. And I figured once his tires cooled down and he wasn't really scrubbing his tires, I figured that he was going to go into the first corner and get a little tight, and he just kept getting tighter. So it kind of worked out for me in a good way, I guess.
Yeah, this is was a little rough. Seemed like over half the race seemed like it was just nothing but cautions, and didn't think the car was going to come out in one piece. But no, for the second time out, in the car ever. Can't complain with the feature win, that's for sure. So.
We like to run it around the bottom, but there wasn't anything down there, so we were forced to run up high, and it worked out. So, it feels a little better to win one that wasn't on the front row, especially with the top 3 guys here in the Darn TV Power Rankings. So, it wasn't the cherry picking, so it feels a little better with that. But yeah, I'm happy camper 4 in a row. I mean, I'd never done 2 in a row before this last weekend, so pretty cool.
Glad I wasn't in it. Just glad everyone walked away from the wreck and we're able to go another day. And I was glad that we only had 10 laps to go, and because I knew I had some heavy hitters coming from behind, and I was thankful I held them off.
It was awesome. I love the bottom, and when the bottom comes in like that, it's a lot of fun for me. So yeah, I seen a guy was trying the top, and it wasn't going so well for him, so I went to the bottom. So
I believe that was me.
I believe that was you. Yeah. Yeah. You've got me more times up there than I've got you, so we'll call it even.
I don't know. Just trying to predict the track, I guess, and get your car to do what you want it to do on the track that you get on any given night, And we got lucky tonight.
I don't know. Wasn't a lot of time to think. I always had someone there. Car didn't start out very good, but it got good.
That was about it.
What's the matter?
I always told him last year that I was going to get him one. And came close, but we got this new car, and he helped out with that. And before he passed, I told him that I was going to get him one this year. And I said I was having dreams that opening night I was going to get one, and everything wasn't going that way. But I think he was with me tonight, and we had the pedal to the floor.
Congrats to Jason on his win. But overall, real good. Ran the stock car too. Gotta thank Alan and all them for letting me do that. We had a really good race with Flores. Actually, pretty good friends, so that was pretty cool.
For you coming back to the mod tour in July, do we plan on seeing you then?
Oh yeah, we'll be back. Like I said, this place is probably one of my favorite places around here, so we'll be back. Looking forward to it.
Give me a break. Give me a break. Break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar.
I think you deserve 5 out of 5 at the race.
I got 1.
Welcome back to the Dirt Weekly once again, and we are very excited tonight to have a couple of guests in the studio here tonight, and we're going to start off with Alexis Rolson, the driver of the 15W IMCA Hobby Stock at the Nodak Speedway. Alexis, did you know that you are the very first guest ever on the Dirt Weekly?
No, I did not.
Are you pretty excited about that?
Yeah.
Well, you certainly remember to put that on your resume from here on out.
Yeah, you don't know where it might get you in life. But tonight's show is basically a talk about how things have changed at the Nodak Speedway, especially when it does come. We don't want to over-accentuate the men and women thing, but it is important to follow up the history segment to where women weren't even allowed to be down in the pits back in the race club days of the 60s. Even if they wanted to be down with their husbands down in the pits, they could not. So it's came a long way.
Yeah, and that's not certainly unique to the Nodak Speedway or the tracks of this area. That was pretty much nationwide, along with some other rules that are long gone. White pants were mandatory. Everybody had to wear white pants in the pit area. So a lot of things have changed, most of them for the better.
So now, when we had about a handful of 5 women in the first 60-some years of the race club, this year we've got 6 out on the track right now, and we're fortunate enough to have Alexis with us tonight along with Katie Ruby. Alexis, what was your first memory of dirt track racing that you can remember that kind of got you started on wanting to be a race car driver?
When my uncle started racing and watching them race and seeing how much they enjoyed it and how excited they got after getting out of the car.
And your uncle was who?
Keith and Kevin Maddox.
Oh, okay. Oh, see, I didn't even know that that was the deal.
Well, there's the tie-in.
Yeah, that's why my phone's blowing up with posts from Maddox tonight. So I asked you earlier if you were attending Minot State. You told me you were still in high school, and that makes it even more impressive that you're out there battling with these guys. How do you feel your career's been going so far? I know you talked about taking a little bit of time off last year. Is it something that you think that you will stay in for a while?
Well, after this year, we're gonna take a break once I start college so that I can get used to college and stuff like that. And then once college is done, I hopefully will get back into it.
Are you thinking about possibly eventually moving on up to stock car, modified? In our history segment earlier, we showed Gail Sutton that jumped right into the sprint cars in the 70s without racing any other class of cars. You're starting in the class that I feel everybody should start in. Any hopes of maybe eventually working on up to the larger, faster cars?
Maybe.
Okay.
Well, let's see how that goes. Here's my advice after going to college for 15 years. Never go to summer school. So you'll always have summers off to go to the racetrack.
Do you put a lot of time in on the race car? It's tough then when you're going to high school and you're actually, of course, it's winding up with graduation coming up this Sunday. I know you gotta get going to baccalaureate tonight. This first month of May that starts when school's still going on, late Sunday night racing, you told me that you raced in Williston and Minot for now. Has that kind of been a factor to you, or do you have plenty of help that gets you through so you don't have to spend late nights on the car?
My dad helps me a lot on my car, and he does a lot of the work on the car for me.
What's been the toughest thing to learn so far when you jumped on out there and started running laps with everyone else?
Learning where the gas pedal is and getting comfortable using the gas pedal and just getting comfortable in the car.
Now here's something that everybody says once they jump behind the wheel of the car after watching from the grandstand. It looks a lot easier than it is.
Yes, you definitely feel like you're going a lot faster when you're in the car.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Larry, you had a few laps on the track and thought you were going to set a new record. Come to find out, you were traveling how fast?
I went out and did a little 5-lap race about 15 years ago against the other announcer at that time, Charlie Fox. I thought I was going incredibly fast. I'd never been in a race car before. It almost scared me in the corners. I was telling myself, slow down, slow down. His dad caught me in the grandstand on the way out, and he had a stopwatch, and he's just sitting in the old grandstand giggling. And I just said, you know, what's so funny, Jerry? You're going 42 miles an hour. So to me, it was really fast, but it turned out not to be that fast. So have you noticed a difference this year from last year? They did a lot of work in Minot on the banks and the track, trying to get that a little wider, a little racier. You're fairly new to it. You still got a lot of things, obviously, that you and I talked about earlier that you need to learn. Is it too early to ask you, do you think those changes helped? Have you noticed a difference
yes,
out there?
In the corners, like in corner 3 and 4, you're not pulling up to the wall as much as you used to. Like before, you would like pull straight into the wall and feel like you were going to hit the wall, and now it's not so bad anymore.
When you were the vice president, you guys had some trouble with that about the cars just coming out of 4, I think. Yeah. Katie had a little encounter too one year.
There was a lot of new things that was coming off the grandstand, the new grandstand construction. Then we had flood 2011, and it was an uphill battle all the way. And yeah, to get that track reconfigured takes a lot of work. And these guys have done a nice job this year. I think the track looks as good as it has for many years.
Memorial Day weekend, do you plan on making all 4 races? I know you said you're running Williston a lot.
No, I won't be running Williston because I have my grad party, and so then I'll race Sunday, and then Monday I'll be on my way to Florida for a choir competition.
Wow. Racing not quite first priority yet.
And Sunday it's like hurry up and graduate and get down to the track.
Right, yep.
So anybody you want to thank that's helped, you did already a few of the family members, any sponsors on that car that we need to know about that really helped you guys out?
The Original, which is my stepdad's company, and then my grandpa's company, Braun Trucking and Summit.
Okay. Well, we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
For the rest of the year, we're going up to Williston to announce, so we'll miss you up there. But we'll see you Sunday then at the Playground of Power.
Sounds good.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
So tonight we have Katie Ruby, the driver of the number 9 hobby stock car, with us in the studio. And Katie, it's been a little crazy night here at the Dirt Weekly, but we're glad that you stayed with us here tonight.
Yep, no problem.
Yeah, Katie, now you've been around racing you come from a racing family. What are some of your earliest memories of being at the Nodak Speedway?
Well, I know I was told that I got carried to the pit meetings on my dad's hip when I was a baby, but I don't remember that. The earliest memories I have were when my dad was in the stock car and I watched him. You know, he had some really good years there, so that's what sticks out in my memory.
How many years have you been racing now?
11.
Really? It's been that long?
Yeah, it's been that long.
Doesn't seem that long ago, does it, Larry?
No, we were joking on the phone last week about, I said, yeah, we'll have the young girls on first, because due to some problems, Mackenzie Baker was going to be here tonight, but she got in a little fender bender up at the Thunder Mountain Speedway in Bottineau last Thursday. Turned out to be more than a fender bender when Travis took a look at the car yesterday morning, so they couldn't make it. Something came up for Mackenzie Falls, so it's just basically was going to be, you know, a pretty good laden show today with those ladies on here, but we were joking along the way. She goes, I kept on referring to her as the veteran and the young girls, and Katie said, well, I'm not that old. So, but it's been a while. It's been 11 years. For those that don't know, Dick Vondell raced for years in the hobby class back in the 60s in the old 147 machine, and then his son Rick, who was your father, took over in the stock cars. I believe Rick ran modifieds for a few years, didn't he?
Years, yep.
Yep, always that number 5 car, the quick lube special.
Which leads into another good question. Why the number 9?
My birthday, 9/29/89.
Well, there you go. Didn't know that?
Yep.
Yeah, see, she's getting up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's 3 decades ago already.
I'm only 21.
So you started out, we had the history segment. You saw how those ladies at the Speedway couldn't even be in the pits back in the 60s. So it's went a long ways. We have the success that we talked about earlier of Carrie Mundahl out of Bismarck, who won the 95 mini stock championship. And then it kind of slowed down a little bit of having any woman want to step up and be in racing. Since you've been in there, I think you've been very competitive and very successful. You're in the top 5 of our points this year. What did it take? And I would consider that you're probably in our top echelon of hobby stock drivers. What do you think got you there eventually? What does it take for somebody that's watching that wants to jump in a race car and start competing to get to where you are now?
It just takes a lot of time, compassion, and will to want to win.
Speaking of winning, you won your share of A-mains. Think back to that first one. How exciting was it to win that first A-main?
Super exciting. I was shaking the whole time.
Oh, I'm sure
that?
it can't. Well, I know that I've talked to several people on their first one. They say, I can't believe those last 5 laps took so long.
Yep. Yeah, there was so many cautions in that feature. It was a long feature. So
it's always good to get the first one in the books.
It was.
How does that feel when you're putting it on the field? I know every time they interview somebody, Lindsay does, used to do the victory lane winners all the time, and Minot now still does it with me in Williston, always asking, did you know he was there? Did you know he was there? And I know you usually don't unless you hear him, but it's got to be frustrating when you're out front and then here comes a yellow and then another yellow and you're still in front. That's got to probably be one of the hardest parts of the job, so to speak.
It is. You don't know if there's somebody behind you that knows that there's a line coming in and they're gonna, swoop in and pass you on that last lap, or, it's just a wait and see.
And the flip side of that, it's always fun to be the person behind that leader thinking,
That's what I like
I've
to
got
be.
one more chance to swoop in and take that fast line away because they don't know it's there yet.
Now you take a look at this picture that we've got up now of Ellie standing in front of the race car.
With a driving suit on.
Driving suit, helmet. Are we looking at yet another generation of family racing?
Oh, I'm sure. She's already looking at those slingshots going, oh, they're my size.
And how old is
So,
she?
She's 3.
Wow,
Yep.
she's getting an early start.
She's already telling me that she's gonna race, so.
Well, that slingshots will be exciting. The only one locally that I've been told that owns one right now is Steve Pfeiffer for his son.
But Kevin Eklund also has one.
Oh, does he?
Yep.
Okay.
For his son.
Pfeiffer was going to be here a couple of weeks ago to talk about that program and try to get it built up a little more, but things just haven't worked out
Well,
for
farming.
him on the farm.
Farming got in the way.
Yeah, work once again gets in the way. But yeah, that seems. Are you pretty excited about that class? Seeing it, I know we've only raced them once, and we've only got like a couple cars. Is it something that you're pretty excited about seeing them get going?
Yeah, those are super neat, and I even want to get in it and drive it around. So, I mean, they're cool looking. There's a lot to them though, from when I've talked to Steven. So.
Yeah.
Is that? You know, I'm the non-mechanically inclined one out of the 3 right here now in the studio. How does that compare to just your regular go-kart that you see go-kart races on?
They're a lot more sophisticated. These actually have some suspension to them. And, you know, when we were down in Jamestown last year, Larry, during the tour, there's a junior class and there's an adult class. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they changed the carburetor on those, or there's something different about those cars that allows it to be able to carry an adult. And then they get up some pretty good speeds. They were actually running those around the entire quarter-mile racetrack down in Jamestown. So I think they're fun for anybody, any age.
Mm-hmm.
We're up to about 6 drivers now. We tried to come on the show and try to stay as much as we could away from the female and male thing in auto racing. But, you know, it's no secret that it's still dominated, you know, in numbers by the men. But with Beth Ann Gowdy, by the way, not here tonight either, races at Nodak. Karen Parachoniak, Mackenzie Fall originally was going to be here. You see all these ladies coming up now. How do you feel when some little one from the crowd comes on up and talks to you, and you can tell the reason they're coming up to you and the reason that they're your favorite or that you're their favorite driver is because that you're a woman instead of the norm that's been going on for years?
It's awesome. It's an eye-opener. It's cool to be somebody's hero.
Yeah.
So.
And I know that you have been for quite a few years when the races that you did mention that Katie has won. Just as the announcer, I've been there since she started racing. I've been announcing for 20 years. The crowd always roars a little more when Katie is doing well or wins a race.
Yes, they do.
So it's still there. It still exists. But at the rate that Nodak's going and all the other clubs that are getting more and more females interested in racing, hopefully within the next 10, 20 years, that's not going to be an issue anymore. So who do you want to thank for your, obviously I know a couple of big ones, but people that help out on the car, sponsors, and also we need to tell the viewers, I think that Katie and her husband, Jason now, as far as I can recollect, is the only race class that's ever had husband and wife racing against each other. I
think so too.
I can't remember any, and I've always kind of said all year that, you know, Katie beats them all the time. You guys are racing the new go-karts at the Mall of America a couple of weeks ago. I get a screenshot from your husband showing me that he beat you on the go-karts. Is this where this is going? Or
We just like to have a lot of fun, and we compete in everything.
Yeah.
So, but it's fun.
he did beat her this last weekend. I know you're in the pits with Isaac. He started way in front of her. She got right behind him with 3 laps to go. The time limit hit on another caution. Race over, he wins. So, Jason, if you're watching, I'm not counting that as a win. That's still, in my book, does not count a win. But you said it does.
Yeah,
Okay.
He won.
Yeah. Well, don't get used to it, Jason, because it's not going to happen that much often.
Katie, let us know some of the people that help you out, some of your sponsors that help you put that car on the track every week.
Yeah, my dad mainly, he does a lot for us. Jason works on my car too, and he helps me out. All my dad's businesses, Quick Lube and Oil, North 83 Fireworks, R&T Engine and Machine. My mom, Tires Only, Nutrition Addiction, B&B Insulation. The Landing helps us out too. Magic City Daycare Center, where Ellie goes, they pitch in some money. So yeah, we have a lot of people behind us.
Well, it takes a lot of great people behind each and every race car to make them successful. And we certainly wish you continued success. Thanks for coming on the show this week. And we hope you have some great fun this weekend.
Thank you.
Yep, have fun. That's the main thing. Have fun. We'll be right back on the Dirt Weekly.
After week number 3 has been put in the books. We're live at the Pro Style Production Studio south of Minot, North Dakota. Sponsored by Kit Kat. Tonight, as always, the legend himself, Mr. Larry McFall, alongside of Mr. Lindsay Lawson. Great interviews there, gentlemen, with Alexis and Katie Ruby. We talk about women in racing tonight. We touched on this earlier in the show. Boy, it's fun to see those girls park those cars in Victory Lane. Best of luck to them on the rest of the year coming forward.
It's just exciting to have that more women getting into the sport and racing. And you know what? I honestly think that Katie Ruby is one of the best hobby stock drivers right now in this area as far as I'm concerned. The other drivers are young, they're learning, but after 10 years in the books now, in her 11th season, Katie is she can race with the best of them. So she's had a lot of bad luck in the past, stuff just as she's been, I don't know how many times she's been collected in something that happened in front of her on the track, but there's bigger and better things coming from all those ladies.
Absolutely.
Great segue into the next conversation. Power rankings have been the number one thing people are talking about around North Dakota, and boy, that is some fun stuff. We don't have them on the screen for you tonight due to some technical difficulties, but when we talk power rankings and we talk what was in the past, what's in the future, number one, first things first, we're going to get those things dialed in each and every week. Is that fair to say that we're going to need those each and every week?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Brandon Beater is busy trying to put a racetrack together, and he's got so many different irons in the fire that and didn't have time to put those together this week. Here's where we were at last week on the IMCA Hobby Stock Power Rankings, sponsored by Darn TV. Dana Brandt at number 1, Vance Tomlinson number 2, Andrew Birch number 3, Zach Lutz was 4, and Riley Raynard was number 5. So I went ahead and took the liberty. This is not the official Darn TV. This is the unofficial rankings.
We do whatever we want.
Just shuffling things around here on the dirt.
If the teacher can't come to school, you got to bring in the sub.
So we'll call these the unofficial Dirt Weekly updated rankings after last week. We're going to leave Dana Brandt, Vance Tomlinson. They're the top 2. Andrew Birch going to in 3rd. A little tough luck for Zach Lutz. He's going to drop out of our top 5. And Katie Ruby's going to slide into that number 4 position. Up there in the points at the Nodak Speedway, and Reese Dignan, we're going to put him at number 5. Anybody else that we need to add in that hobby stock division, Larry?
Well, I got a couple of messages today, and also talking to the ladies here earlier tonight, and I tend to agree with them. Number 15, Tyler Lucy, has been very fast. He's a new name in racing in this area, especially circle track racing. I believe he came from Enduros, I believe. But everybody that's involved, that's out there on the track, says look out for him. I tend to agree. So we've only got one person to watch here on our makeshift list tonight, and he would be the one in the hobby stocks.
On to the IMCA Sport Mods. The Darn TV rankings from last week had Eric Lautenschlager at number 1, Robbie Conway number 2, Kelly Henderson number 3, Brady Biella out of Williston number 4, and Isaac Sondrel number 5. So the unofficial, we're going to shuffle those around a little bit. We're going to leave Eric Lautenschlager on top. He just keeps on winning. Robbie Conway picking off the win here at the Nodak Speedway last Sunday night. Going to stay at that number, staying at number 2. We're going to put Isaac Sondrel. We're going to roll him up in number 3, coming off a big win down at the Southwest Speedway in Dickinson. Robbie Roselli, very consistent, running a couple second-place finishes over the weekend. He'll be at number 4. And who's your Chatty? Chad Stretchin. We're going to put him in at number 5. He's our points leader at the Nodak Speedway as through last week's races. So anybody else we need to take a look at there in the sport mod?
Well, the sport mod to watch, we're still going to have 24, Kelly Henderson. He could only make one race last week. Work has been a major factor for him, just not really panning out with his race schedule. But he's still, when he's there, he's a guy that you really have to watch. But when he's not competing against these other guys, we can't leave him in the spot he was in either. So we have put Kelly down to now to a driver that you have to watch.
Well, a little motivation for the 24 machine to come back and put himself back up in the top 5. On to the IMSA stock cars. The Darn TV Power Rankings from last week had Joe Flory, Dalton Flory 1 and 2, Greg Mann out of Estevan 3, then Jordan Boyce 4, and Brendan Labatt would be number 5. We're going to keep those top 2 the same. Joe Flory once again picking off the win at the Nodak Speedway on Sunday. Dalton Flory is going to stay number 2. Austin Doe will slide up into the number 3 position. Jordan Boyce stays in 4th. And Keith Maddox having a pretty good run over the weekend. I'm going to put him up number 5. What else you got for us, Larry, in the IMCA stock cars?
Number 21 is putting some good race weeks together. Taylor Stenvold, we're going to go with him as the car to watch this week, as he seems to be getting up close to the front every time he hits the racetrack. And another one of our new, young, exciting drivers at the Speedway. So we'll keep an eye on the 21 machine.
Sounds good. On to the IMCA Modifieds. The Darn TV Power Rankings from last week had Jason Walla number 1, Travis Hagen number 2, Jeremy Keller out of Mandan number 3, Robert Hot Rod Hellebust 4th, and Spencer Wilson 5th. We're going to shuffle those just a little bit. We got to leave Jason the Big Show Walla up there picking off wins not only at the Southwest Speedway but also at the Nodak Speedway last week. Travis Hagen still stays in number 2 position. Cody Schultz going to move on up. He finally picked off a win after having a couple runner-up finishes. And Hot Rod Hellebust into the number 4th position, and Wayne Johnson having a real consistent year. We're going to have him in at number 5. Who else do we need to add to that, Larry?
Well, it's just kind of funny. I need to mention that one of my former tennis players from years and years, another lifetime ago at Bishop Ryan, gets a hold of me quite a bit on Messenger, and he made his own list of the modifieds up, and Shannon did his homework, so I sent him a message that said, "You're hired." But he's got the Big Show. He broke it down to 7 races, 5 wins, 6 top 5s, 6 top 10s. Then he's got Hagen, agrees with your list at 7, 2, 5, and 5. Schultz, 7, 2, 2, and 5.
Also the same that we had.
Then he's got Drew Christensen in 4th, 5 races, 1 win, 3 top 5s. And then he's got Jeremy Keller still in the top 5. Keller with 3 races, 1 win, 2 top 5s, and then Hot Rod would be the one to watch. Our driver to watch with our list, and thanks for sending that in, Shannon. That's the kind of stuff that we want on the Dirt Weekly. I've got Justin Smalls-Medler as our guy to watch. He's had some good runs. He's up in the point standings at the Nodak Speedway. That was the only track he raced at last week, which kind of hurt him a little bit. But he was running top 5 again the other night, Nick, when you and I were announcing, and then he just kind of disappeared from our view. The next thing we see is him driving through Victory Lane, you know, with some trouble and some sheet metal hanging down. Didn't see what happened, but Medler is definitely, I think, our guy to watch. The Big Show has gotten so good winning all the time that I've been told that his helmet no longer fits. And so I think they are customizing a new helmet for the Big Show. Yeah, there it is. Right there it is. Jason the Big Show Walla.
Wow, that's impressive.
Well, it is impressive. It's made to try, as you can see, it's curved on the top a little bit so it deflects. Instead of needing tear-offs, the eye slots are big enough where you no longer need tear-offs. And then the nose contoured out to the sides deflects pretty much all the dirt and anything else that he'd have coming his way. So we'll see how it works. I don't know if he's running in Mandan on Friday night or Williston, but it'll be interesting to see if that new helmet for the big show comes into play.
My question is, what is that? What is he eating? Is that 3 brownies stacked together, or what is that?
With a flaming stick of dynamite or something. It looks like an episode of Wile E. Coyote, kind of in a way. I'm not quite sure what happened there.
Darn TV Power Rankings got adjusted tonight by the staff of the Dirt Weekly. That's what we do. We're just going to raise a little ruckus around the dirt track world. I'm with you guys. I think everybody's there on the same page. I found this interesting. You heard earlier on tonight, Ricky Thornton Jr. is coming back for the Modified Tour coming up. We're going to have a Modified Tour preview show to talk about some of those power rankings. And anytime
Absolutely.
like last year when you got a guy like Jeff Taylor that was at the track all the time, we didn't know if he was going to be here on any given night. Is he not? A guy like Ricky Thornton Jr. shows up. Fun to see him at the Playground of Power, just as a side note.
Absolutely. It's the tour is going to be huge, and we'll certainly have to do a special show as we lead into the tour. It comes up in July, so yeah, that's going to be great as always.
It'll be here faster than you think too, the way time is going right now.
Next week's show, we've got this coming for you. Just be ready for this. Larry McFall in the golf cart with speed bump. Looks like he was beating you here, though.
Well, yeah, but the race is never won on the first lap. And races are won on the last lap. And so next week we'll show you exactly what happened.
All right, on to this weekend. What can we expect coming up? I know there's all sorts of good stuff coming up. Nodak Speedway's got a doubleheader, our home track. I know you guys, possibly you, Lindsay, on your way to Williston. Larry, for sure, for a doubleheader there. Let's talk about the weekend coming up and a special night at Nodak Speedway with turning Nodak pink, as you see the car here on the screen.
Yeah, this car is going to be given away on Sunday night at the Nodak Speedway, the first night of the doubleheader. This is a special car made by our buddy Speed Bump and his company that makes all these replica cars and stuff for all the drivers. This one especially made for the promotion coming up. You can buy a ticket to win this for $1 mere. That'll be underneath the grandstand. They'll have a booth set up down there or a table. You can buy the Turn Nodak Pink T-shirts, Gerdau, the big sponsor behind this. They're scrapping out cancer, and all the proceeds, 100% of the proceeds from the sale of those T-shirts and for the raffle tickets go directly to the American Cancer Society. So $1 raffle ticket on this. They're going to draw for the winner right at intermission on Sunday night. It's a cool collectible to add to your collection if you're one of those people that collects these things. And even if you're not, what a great place to start your collection with that neat-looking late model car.
I kind of want that thing. Looks cool.
Yeah. It's
Could be
very
a buck,
nice.
maybe just a buck.
Here in western North Dakota, McLean County Speedway tomorrow night, Dakota Speedway Friday night. Of course, out east there's action as well on the east part of the state. Then the Williston Basin Speedway double dip on Friday and Saturday night, and then Nodak here on Sunday and Monday. That doesn't leave us much time to go golfing, but I plan on staying overnight Friday night in Williston and maybe getting out on Saturday if your schedule. If you're thinking about playing some golf.
Well, if the wind doesn't let up, I'm not thinking about anything.
Well, if you do play golf, please don't wear what you're wearing on this picture that I dug up. Mike Levitt and John Alex also in the picture.
I don't think I'm in that picture, Larry.
Yes, that's Lindsay Lawson with his mullet, his bandana, his pink suspenders, and his pink pants. That is circa 1989.
Let's go with that.
Around there sometimes.
Let's go with that. I was turning it pink before turning it pink was cool.
Yeah, you were also on P90X, it looks like. Nice job.
I have no more to say about that.
All right, time for the best and the worst of the week as we get ready to wrap up week number 4, or show number 4 after week number 3. Gentlemen, do you have a best and worst of the week? Let's start with you, Mr. McFall. Do you have a worst? Does anybody have a worst of the week besides our meltdown on the show here tonight?
That would have to be the worst of the week. No, we talked earlier. We don't really have anything that really stood out bad on a racetrack. I did see on those highlights, looks like a pretty bad rollover in Fargo that you showed earlier. So I don't know what driver that was, but that wasn't very pretty.
No, the worst of the week is there's not much. Everything's been going real well, I think, around especially on the western side of the state here.
around here, I don't know if you can cut out. I don't know if you still have the availability tonight with the problems we've had, but there was a tornado at a track down south in Salina, and we could probably end the show with this. A tornado struck the whole town, of course. The speedway, not your major concern, of course. The safety of the residents and the people of the town, of course, is number one. But as you can see, it wreaked pretty bad havoc on the speedway. So if you're real big time into the racing, I guess, and you would really want to help out and help them get their feet back on the ground, I'm sure that you could contact the Salina Speedway and give them maybe some assistance to get racing going there again. Also, some tracks around the country have been flooding badly, and we hope that they can all get their feet back on the ground and get back at, burning the dirt instead.
We don't want to go out on a bad note. Let's go out on the best of the week. What was your best of the week, Larry?
There was so much. I just think the Kevin Twite story is huge. I mean, you're racing early in your career. His dad gets ill, ends up unfortunately passing away, and Kevin telling him that I will get a win for you. And it's so tough to win at the Nodak Speedway each and every week in all the classes. So for him to go out, kind of tear up a little bit when I try to talk about it. But that's huge. It's huge for him to get that win.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of emotion in this racing game. My best of the week, I got a couple of them. Big Show Walla, once again, taking home 2 more wins over the weekend. And my other part of it, I'm a little biased, but my pal Isaac Sondrel taking home the win at the Southwest Speedway in that 12S machine. I'll tell you what, talk about an emotional win. That was a beauty, too. That was a great win for him and for the whole family. It was a lot of fun to be a part of that.
My best of the week, I think, would have to be Nodak Speedway just got butchered on the internet last week. And frankly, they had a terrible show. Week number 2 wasn't a good show. Week number 1 was a great show. Week number 2, not so much. Mother Nature, some things didn't go in their favor, yada, yada. We don't need to get into it. Boy, did they regroup nicely or what, coming back and putting on a hell of a show on Sunday night. And people sat in the bleachers the entire time. We had side-by-side racing. That would be my best of the week, and hats off to everybody involved at the Nodak Speedway, making a nice rebound, if you will, after kind of a bad showing on night number 2, and you're going to get that. But overall, that would be my best of the week. And it was kind of fun watching the Dark Horse and the Big Show go toe-to-toe, which was my worst of the week before when Travis Hagen had to pull off early. So those are my best of the week.
Well said. Let's have some fun this weekend and get on out and enjoy dirt track racing wherever you may be. Plenty of racing in the state of North Dakota this weekend.
Well, it's time for the Kit Kat rankings. We give 2 Kit Kats to the Telecaster that failed tonight. And Larry, once again, 4 Kit Kats. Nice work tonight bringing in the history segment.
What's it going to take?
You're going to have to step it up to get the 5th one.
What is it going to take?
What is it going to take? That's
What's
the
it going
question.
to take?
Fantastic job tonight, guys. This has been a presentation of Pro Style Production here at thedirtweekly.com. For Larry McFall, Lindsay Lawson, the ladies that joined us tonight, Alexis Rolson, along with Katie Ruby, everybody that was interviewed after week number 3. We'll see you next week for the highlights from week number 4. Leaf Bakken in studio as well. This has been a Pro Style Production presentation. We'll see you next week.